Welcome to the Primetime News Bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV. In this edition, Shama traditional leaders demand compensation and pacification of their gods they say are responsible for malfunction of T3 power plant at Amboate. New UN report highlights growing income inequalities in Ghana despite great strides at reducing poverty. Minority in Parliament accuses government of financial indiscipline, reckless management of the economy. President Mahama Miwa says measures to address ailing economy are beginning to make a difference. And Ghana Bar Association laments court shutdowns over a failure by government to release funds for the operations. Also coming up in the bulletin, we bring you all the World Cup action today, business news, sports and showbiz. The news starts presently.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
In our very first story, the minority in Parliament has accused the Ministry of Finance of perpetuating an illegality in the implementation of the VAT Act. According to them, the Finance Minister should have brought a proposal to Parliament for approval of the 32 financial services that will attract the 17.5 VAT. At a news conference in Parliament, they also accused government of financial indiscipline and reckless management of the economy.
The minority opposed the new VAT Act when it was introduced in Parliament on the grounds that it will impose additional burden on individuals and businesses. They argued on the floor that the law as it is will be very difficult to implement and that it should be withdrawn. The majority, however, had their way with their numbers. They asked the Finance Minister as a matter of urgency to report to Parliament before the ministry is taken on by the minority.
The Act is very clear, and with your permission, I want to quote. It states, subject to paragraph B of financial services, excluding financial services rendered for a fee, commission, or similar charge. Now, what that means in simple English is that if there are 1,000 items in the financial services for which a fee, commission, or similar charge is being made, it must attract VAT. So the government cannot unilaterally go and publish a list of 32 items and say this is what we want to collect VAT on. The better option is to withdraw it. But at least if the government now believes that it knows the list, the proper thing to do is to bring the amendment to Parliament for Parliament to amend the law so that the 32 items become the law. But when the government is claiming it is broke, how can it allow the National Petroleum Authority to rent an office building for $63,000 a month, over 182,000 Ghana cedis, or 1.8 billion old cedis a month in East Legon? The President, Mr. President, we know you are aware of this development. How can we allow the Bui Authority, whose power generation is suspect, to overspend its budget to build a golf course at Bui? Who is going to play this golf?
The minority again reiterated its stance on the CDB loan, insisting the terms do not favor Ghana.
At the very outset, we registered our concern on various aspects of the loan, but the government was not minded to listen to us at the time. The commitment fee of 1% on the undisbursed balance needs to be taken away, or we should renegotiate to cancel the loan. Mr. President, it is only you who can make this request to the Chinese, not your Minister of Finance. So far, I want to remind Ghanaians that we have paid $54 million in commitment fees on the undisbursed balance, aside from paying interest and charges. The minimum we have paid so far runs to over $100 million.
They welcome the review of the forest measures introduced by the Bank of Ghana, even though they say it will take a while to restore the confidence that was lost in the banking system.
The processes that he is putting in place to enable us achieve a political consensus on the way to tackle or overcome the crisis that we are facing. Other than that, the country's economy will continue to slide.
The minority also cautioned government against taking on another Eurobond debt, claiming it will worsen the country's debt to GDP ratio along with the debt servicing challenge. Meanwhile, in Parliament, the Finance Minister has told the House the total deductions made from the 10% voluntary pay cut from the President and his ministers has so far accumulated 327,363.69 Ghana cedis between January and May 2014. He said a special account has been opened at Bank of Ghana for the collection of the monies. He was responding to a question posed by the Member of Parliament for German South, Yao Afo.
President Mahama says interventions government put in place to restore the economy is yielding results. The president said this when the Dutch Minister for Foreign and Trade Development Cooperation, Elizabeth Maria Josefa Ploemen, called on him at the Flagstaff House.
Elizabeth Maria Josefa Ploemen is in the country with the 50-man investment delegation. Some of the members of the delegation, according to her, have already expressed interest in the energy sector,
where we also have some experience to share. For example, the geothermal energy, where we have been working closely with, for example, Indonesia, but also some East African countries. And it might be interesting to see if we could also team up those experiences from those different contexts and see how we can work together. And this could be one of the parts of the future agenda between our countries.
She also mentioned a new funding system initiated by her country to further support countries like Ghana, saying Dutch investors are interested in how the economic challenges of Ghana are being managed.
The Dutch Good Growth Fund, where it's a fund that will finally have 700 million euros, and it's really designed to facilitate small and medium enterprises in the Netherlands, but also in countries like Ghana, to invest in each other and to invest in a country like Ghana.
President Mahama said the homegrown measures government has introduced is reducing the deficit.
We have some short-term challenges with the economy. In 2012, the deficits, went quite high to about 11.8%. But we're implementing some homegrown measures to try and consolidate the fiscal, and we are beginning to see some progress. The deficit is coming down, not as fast as we would want, and in circumstances like this, deficits don't drop overnight. It takes multi-year to be able to bring them back under control, but we're determined to bring it back into single digits and bring it as low as possible. And so we're implementing some homegrown measures, and we've been calling on our partners to join with us to see how we can implement these measures successfully. But areas of investment aside from energy include agriculture, and Ghana is looking to utilize the advantages we have under the economic partnership agreements to increase our exports into the EU market. And I know that Netherlands will be a favorable destination for us to be able to achieve this.
The president only Wednesday called on the international community to support implementation of the country's homegrown policies. He is optimistic they will help bring the economy around. The president also appealed to the Netherlands investors in energy and agriculture to come and partake in the Ghanaian economy.
And I know that Netherlands has a lot of comparative advantage when it comes to renewable energy, and so that's an area that we want to look at green technologies and see how we can plug into the experience and know-how that you have to be able to expand the proportion of renewable energy in our energy mix. We have reformed our energy policy to allow for independent power producers, and so currently we're signing a lot of MOUs with independent power producers to produce power and feed into the national grid.
Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Flagstaff House.
Now, as the world marks Sickle Cell Day this year, 20-year-old Sheriff Kwoko fears he may not be able to survive the disease. The blood disorder, which shortens life expectancy, has already claimed 4 of his siblings. In the following interview, Joy News' Eton Hamsey Sheriff talks about the disease he says often leaves him frail and dejected.
This is the sickle cell unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, one of 2 sickle cell units in the whole of the country. The space manages most of the sickle cell cases that are reported here on a daily basis. 20-year-old Sharif is a sickle cell patient here, the last born of 7 children. He has been on admission here at the sickle cell unit for the past 2 weeks. His mother, Mary Agbeke, at 74 years, is a sickle cell carrier who unfortunately married another carrier. So we are currently here with 74-year-old Mary Agbeke, a parent to a sickle cell patient. Interestingly, Mary had 7 children. Only 3 are surviving now. 4 died, and they were all sickle cell patients. And she's going to share with us. One died at the age of 2, another one 3, other one 18, and the one that lived a bit older before dying died at the age of 23. I find it very sad, and I'm here to interact with her.
It just happened. My children kept dying one after the other. God knows why they all died. So I look up to God and rely on the surviving.
Mary says she didn't know what was killing her children until recently, when she was told by doctors that she and her husband are both carriers.
When you first started, we usually went for routine checkup and he gets better. However, lately, because of the rainy season, we have had repeated crises.
Sharif is the last born and the only surviving sickle cell patient of his parents. He fears his dream of becoming a musician will never be realized. He dropped out of senior high school just when he was about to write his WASI exams because of his condition.
For a human, you feel sad with a disease. It will always make you feel sad, like you are not among the healthy ones.
Managing a sickle cell patient take holistic approach, because with sickle cell patients, apart from the pain they go through, they also have social problems. People see them as people that they will die very soon. So you have to be with them, you have to take them as yours and educate them, advise them, give them hope.
She says most patients die because they report to the hospital rather too late.
Most of them, they will come here late, maybe their HB is low, then you try to revive them, but unfortunately you won't be able to do that.
I was being admitted about 3 weeks and had about 14 drips just for a sickle cells.
Okay. But are you able to eat well?
Eating. It's like always you lose appetite.
We are told not to discriminate. This year's theme is not to discriminate against sickle cell patients. Do you think people discriminate against you?
It's all about these confusion things, and you insult your mother born you a sickle cell, and you are trying to compare yourself to me.
Even though Mary has already lost 4 children to this deadly inherited blood disorder, Mary is hopeful Sharif will survive.
I wish I'm a musician so that I can talk many about it, but I've started. I wish it will come true.
Okay. And I know it will come true, okay? So I know people watching you will be praying with you. The fact that you've lost 4 other siblings who also died of the sickle cell disease does not mean that you will also die. I believe you will go and then get married, because we have cases of people who have really survived the disease. They lived up to 80 years. They lived a fulfilled life, and so I know you'll be fine.
Thank you. I pray we will be fine.
So we are here at the sickle cell unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We just interacted with Sharif, 20-year-old Sharif, who already has lost 4 other siblings who died of the sickle cell disease. There's hope for sickle cell patients. We just don't have to discriminate against them, and it's very important for you to know your status. My name is Eton Amsi, reporting for Joy News.
Well, Director of the Ghana Institute of Clinical Genetics at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. E. Olayemi, has charged the Ministry of Health to have a sickle cell unit in all the regions of Ghana in order to manage the growing number of cases.
For the proper management of sickle cell patients, we need specialist centers where early diagnosis will be made, where patient management will be properly carried out, and where advice with regard to the prevention of the disease will be done. Unfortunately, as of now, it is only Kolebu and Kofanoche who have these kind of centers. It is because we focus more on communicable diseases. I think one of the other problems that we find with health management is that a lot of the programs are donor driven. So for example, we get funds for HIV, we get funds for malaria, but when it comes to non-communicable diseases, we don't get any donor support. In fact, the center in Konfanochi is being supported by a group in the US.
Marking the World Sickle Cell Day 2014 on the theme, Stop Discriminating and Know Your Status, he advised patients to concentrate on managing the disease, adding bone marrow transplant as a cure has its own limitations.
Well, you see, even in the advanced countries, the numbers of patients that you have, you wouldn't get the bone marrow transplantation facilities to cater for them. Secondly, we are of the opinion that you can manage the patients with knowledge, prompt management, counseling, and we have some of our patients who have lived to 80 years and above, and so we don't see it as a very fatal disease.
We have more stories coming up after the break. Don't go away. Ghana is coming for commendation for achieving the MDG 1 of halving poverty, a feat chalked in 2011, 4 years ahead of time. The UN report, a new UN report, however, says about half of the country's wealth is owned by only 20% of the population, while the poorest 20% are left with only 5% of the national wealth. The UN agencies in Ghana say this highlights serious income inequalities, which undermine efforts to reduce poverty. Addressing such inequalities is one of the main objectives of the post-MDG discussions ongoing between government and the UN. Joy News' Justice Beidou sat through one of such meetings and filed this report.
Despite the current economic gloom, Ghana still has a lot to show as far as growth and development is concerned. An African success story, it has a vibrant and a fair distribution of basic social services. But whilst Ghana has pulled ahead of many of its peers in economic statistics as poverty reduction, the country's most impoverished are still living on the borderline.
The evidence as of now shows that there is wide social inequality, particularly between the richest and the poor in terms of access to education and even healthcare. When you are in an unequal society, there is high tendency for social misupheavals, political tension, conflicts and others.
Indicators clearly show the worsening inequality. Between 1999 and 2006, for example, the top 20% of Ghana's richest people grew to own up to 50% of its wealth, whilst the bottom 20 earned only 5% of total national income. This imbalance, according to the UN's Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, continues.
Same time that Ghana was reducing poverty, inequality was growing very, very rapidly in the country. And some people would argue that, in fact, Ghana has one of the fastest rates of inequality growth on the continent. In terms of levels, Ghana is still much below countries like South Africa and others, particularly in Southern Africa, who, for historical reasons, have had very high rates of inequality growth.
Ghana has won huge global credit for its efforts in improving universal access to basic education. For example, the country has also done well in reducing HIV and AIDS prevalence, which currently stands below 2% among the populace. But the country is still lagging behind in such goals that has to do with sanitation and also with maternal mortality. Even with areas where Ghana has done so well, there are growing concerns of disparities between the three northern regions and the other parts of the country.
People tend to say, well, we can eat macroeconomic stability. Ultimately, you do eat macroeconomic stability. That's why we are focused on that. On bringing down the rate of inflation, for instance, which is linked to so many other things. Rate of inflation is linked to the rate of depreciation, the rate of growth in public expenditure and all that. If you listen to the Minister of Finance when he appeared before Parliament, actually exactly 1 month ago, he had a long list of initiatives that have been put in place to help address precisely these things. If you scale back on government spending, for example, you make more money available for the banking sector, even the non-bank sector, so that money then can be made available for businesses to grow and so forth and so on.
As Ghana prepares its next development framework, there are growing concerns for an inclusive growth that would ensure that the country's poorest of the poor are at the heart of national development.
Residents of Dom, a suburb of Accra, want government to quickly fix a damaged bridge in the community. A few months after showing signs of weakness, a portion of the road over the bridge caved in, forcing authorities in the area to stop vehicles from using it. But the residents say the diversion is causing major inconvenience to motorists, especially during rush hour.
Traffic has been diverted to prevent motorists from using the broken bridge. Deep cracks have formed on one side of the road, with the large culverts underneath the structure hanging dangerously. The damage, however, did not come as a surprise to residents and those with businesses in the area.
Emma Abokobi ne a Hanamo assemblyman or my babeshe. We are thinking, we are hoping Sanka on be finding solution be to it. But Omanya Bibia or hotel say a year this week Monday ya and I dear no. Nye say can and Namsu a nipa just nipa too. They were almost tapo honumana. I didn't a book home. Then they ran back.
Apart from the inconvenience the closure has caused to motorists, residents say they are afraid to walk over the broken bridge.
Yesropa, Sisia baby, me not cry. Madame, because I'm in Surana Meba, Miss Ropa, Osha Hanumina crack. Into we don't know any moment say a Hanumina be collapse here. We don't know. 10 years I and a car beyond for her business. I cut down. My young watch raying.
Some residents blame city authorities for failing to act swiftly to repair the bridge before its eventual collapse.
The whole sector Customs, Excise and Preventive Service of the Ghana Revenue Services Authority has intercepted over 300 maxi bags of cocoa being smuggled out of the country to Togo. This is the second such bust this year after 184 bags were intercepted about a month ago. The 300 maxi bags of maize weighing about 6,600 kilograms is worth 21,000 Ghana cedis.
Briefing the media, Senior Revenue Officer of the whole Customs and Preventive Service, Kojopo Kubonsu, in charge of intelligence, said the truckload of cocoa was intercepted on June 12. during the opening match of the 2014 World Cup. He explained that they had a tip-off from the BNI that a dump truck with registration number GB588112 at Hojo Alabanyo was transporting the cocoa from the eastern region to neighboring Togo. According to SRO Kojo Pokubonsu, some 60 bags of poultry feed had been packed onto the cocoa to numb the pungent smell. The whole sector commander, Confidence Nyaji, stated that even though no arrest has yet been made, investigations are still ongoing, affirming that they are closing in on the culprits, and commended the Volta Regional BNI office for the tip-off.
Taking, for example, yesterday's developments, I had manned me there before. The area where they arrested the goods are under universe control. At the time I went there were 20 officers on the ground. In the 80s, there were about 60-something officers on the ground. In the 90s, there were about 48 thereabouts on the ground. 2003, I took over that station. There were 20 officers. I handed over 2006, and there were 18 officers. Today, as we are talking, there are 13 officers. I'm painting this picture for you to appreciate the dwindling staff strength, and yet the land space is fixed. The means of smuggling, the methods they use are becoming more sophisticated. They have mobile phones to communicate and report on our movement and all that. So it's such a challenging, situation that we are facing.
The previous incident in May involving 184 Vati bags were intercepted at the Klebi, Uganda. Commandos report for Joy News.
Time now to get you updated with some business reports. My name is Abigail Adomakuenchi. Now to start off, Chief Executive of First National is asking government to take another look at the 17.5% VAT charge on financial services, as it will discourage deposit mobilization for players in the sector. Patrick Anomel is, however, hopeful the review of the Forex measures introduced by the central bank would yield positive results. He's been speaking to Joy News after the company got a provisional universal banking license. Savings and loans company First National has just joined the League of Commercial Banks operating in the country after it secured Bank of Ghana's approval to operate as a universal bank. With the necessary structures and branches across all the regional capitals in the country, the company is planning to focus more on small businesses as part of its strategy to penetrate the market. For them, the new 17.5% VAT charge could pose a huge deposit mobilization challenge for institutions such as theirs that target SMEs and rural and suburban dwellers.
Our emphasis is to try and reduce the percentage of the unbanked, which is now, according to statistics, is between 70 to 80%. In other words, 70 to 80% of the population are still unbanked or underbanked. Our aim is to grab most of these people back into the banking field. If in applying the 17.5, it would discourage them, then I would say that the government should take a second look at it, like they are doing to the Forex instructions and regulations that they brought. Maybe if they start, they will take a second look at it and see how they can modify. But certainly, somebody who doesn't want to put his money in a bank and is now confronted with this, he might hesitate. And that is the feeling for most people who are in the banking industry. For us, who operate more intensely in the rural areas, what we intend to do is to, and we have started doing that already, is to try and educate the rural and suburban, dwellers to maybe understand.
Patrick Anomel also welcomed the Bank of Ghana's review of the recent Forex measures, but was quick to emphasize the need to fix the fundamentals of the economy.
If you make a policy, you throw it out in there, and it is practicalized. If you see that there are problems here and there, or if you think that there are possibilities for you to make modification for the better good of the environment, then you do. For me, I believe this is what Bank of Ghana has done. You know the situation we find ourselves in as a country. And therefore, there are certain things that we should do not just leaving the problem with Bank of Ghana and letting them come up with these. The primary thing we have to do is to improve the economy. If we are able to improve the economy, there will be no need in asking anybody to withdraw only $1,000 US dollars or its equivalent across the counter. Then people can take whatever that they have. But so long as we have this problem about supply and demand of the dollar, which is determining the pricing, and which in effect is also having an effect on the depreciation of the cedi, Bank of Ghana is obliged to do something.
As a new bank, First National's entry would now bring the total number of commercial banks operating in the country to 28. Abigail Adamakunchi for Joy News. Speakers at a skill development workshop by Novartis and the University of Ghana Business School say the pharmaceutical industry is lacking critical expertise to sustain them as businesses. They say the sector, as a result, is unable to give off its best. They have therefore called for strengthened business skill and capacity development for players to better manage operations and deliver quality healthcare to Ghanaians. According to them, although pharmacists undergo the needed training, the skills to develop the pharmacy businesses is lacking. The training therefore seeks to bring together some retail pharmacists and allied medical personnel in Ghana to upgrade their business management skills.
Now we are not referring to people as patients anymore, we are referring to them as clients. We need to offer service. We need to make sure that the patient feel the ambience of the environment, because it's more of a psychosocial treatment you are offering to the patient, not necessarily take 1-3 times a day and then get off my pharmacy. Yeah. So you're looking at the holistic, the total healthcare management of patients. So service delivery is key. Customer brand imaging is key, inventory management is key, so that the hospital don't run at a loss. Because if the products are lying and they are expiring just because inventory management, data management has not been put into place, the hospitals will lose a whole lot of money. So we need to build that kind of skill and capacity so that the patients will get a better outcome from the pharmacy department, so that the pharmacist will not be seen, or the pharmacy department will not be seen as a place where you just go pick up your drug and leave.
Other speakers also insist on the need for industry players to upgrade themselves in the basic principles of accounting, which is not part of their pharmacy syllabus.
If you don't have that basic understanding of accounting, you may not be able to know how much people owe you, how much you owe others. You may not know the financial position of the business. You may not be able to know how to even calculate your profit, because sometimes people without any knowledge of accounting may think that once they sell so much, profit will automatically come. But that doesn't always happen, because you need to compare your revenue with your cost of sales and even go down the lane to ascertain your expenses and then charge them. Okay? And sometimes because they think that these businesses are for them, they are the owners themselves, they take anything from the business and they think it's normal because that's their business. But with this sort of training, they will take home with principles like business entity principle, where the business is separate from the owners, and therefore whatever they take from the business will be knocked against their capital. And once they have that sort of knowledge, they will be mindful, they will be careful when they are withdrawing cash or goods from their business.
Participants in the 2-day workshop will meanwhile be taken through customer service delivery, relationship management, pharmaceutical marketing and merchandising, among others. Now let's do some entertainment business, and the lack of well-established structures in the entertainment industry is making assessment of its contribution to the economy rather difficult. Director of National Film Television Industry, Professor Linus Abraham, therefore wants the film industry to move beyond being petty enterprises towards cinemas of substance that make serious inroads into the huge global market of film and television.
NAFTI every year brings together experts to discuss critical issues affecting the sector. Though most of them agree the local movie industry needs a major lift, they say it can only be done with the support of the private sector, especially the major players. This year, NAFTI Film Lecture celebrated the work of Ghana's premier cinematography, Reverend Dr. Chris Chihese.
Creating an enhanced image for the Ghana movie industry needs major policy framework by the government. But it can only be done with the support from the private sector, and especially with the support of the main players and significant stakeholders in the movie industry. We are beginning to see some development in this respect in the government's recognition of the creative arts industry as an important area for economic development for the nation. and therefore the creation of the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts. This should give focused policy development and direction for the industry. This is very significant, the formation of the creative arts.
He called on government to formulate effective policies that will develop the industry.
Enhancing credit facilities for production and the creation of a cluster economy for film, which will facilitate the growth of our media industry. The government uses the credit worthiness to borrow to help equip the industry, since individual companies do not have the wherewithal to finance such a development. The ability to create highly skilled professionals who will man our film industry. And this is where NAFTI's strategic position as the main training institution for professionals in the industry becomes critical to the direction and quality of development of our film industry. And this is why this grouping is important, to form a pressure group to let the government understand that this is an important area of the economy. You need to invest in it, provide us the facilities, and we will make you proud as a sector of the economy that can enhance development of this country.
He also called on various stakeholders to push government to develop the sector.
Oh, it's a pleasure bringing you some business reports. My name is Abigail Adumakwenchi. That'll be all for now. Do stay tuned for more results.
Now, 4-month-old Miracle Imba is in urgent need of surgery to correct a hole in her medical condition she's suffering. Doctors at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital say the surgery cannot be done in Ghana and that she may die soon if it's not done immediately. Her mother, middle-aged Lydia Asare, is appealing to the general public to support her foot the $10,000 cost of surgery.
Long, painful cry of a 4-month-old baby whose life is on the line. Young Miracle has a hole in heart, a dire medical condition that affects the way you breathe and can kill even the strongest of persons. Doctors say the treatment is beyond them and that it has to be done abroad at a cost of at least $10,000. Her short lifetime on earth has been one of trouble, says her middle-aged mother, Lydia Asubire.
I gave birth to her on the 9th of February 2014. So a month later, she was not growing. So I took her to the Bolga hospital. So it was there that they didn't actually tell me what was wrong with her. So they refer us to Tamale Teaching Hospital. So it was there that they noticed that she has hole in the heart, but not they couldn't know the type of hole in the heart that it was. So they have to also refer me to Accra, Korle Bu. So it was here on the 27th of last month that I was here in Korle Bu. So it was there that they noticed that they were able to tell me exactly what was wrong. And they also said it cannot be done. Operation must carry on her, but they cannot do it here.
She hopes for a brighter future for her baby, but that would only happen if her plea for support yields result, as she says her resources alone are woefully inadequate.
She breathes very fast, very, very fast, and she sweats a lot. When she sucks the breast milk, she sweats a lot. After the breathing, it's very fast. And the doctor said because of the breathing, the way it goes fast, the surgery must carry on very soon. I want people to help me to save her life because she is suffering a lot because of the breathing. She suffers a lot. In the night, she doesn't sleep. She cries all day.
Anyone who wants to support Little Miracle to undergo this urgent surgery can donate to the Ghana Commercial Bank account number 127113000 8922. Circle branch or contact multi-TV premises here at Kokomlemle in Accra. You can also call us on 0302 211 688.
Traditional authorities in the Shama traditional area of the Western region have warned government the T3 thermal plant at Awati will never be able to function properly until they pay the compensation due them for the land on which it is built, as well as pacify the gods. The authorities, meanwhile, say they are planning a demonstration to pressure the Volta River Authority to pay them their due and will also not rule out legal action. According to them, authorities of VRA are refusing to adhere to several calls, including that of the president to pay the compensation, as well as to pacify the gods of the land to enable the T3 project to function. We'll bring you that story in subsequent bulletins. Elsewhere, the failure of government to release funds for the operations of the judiciary has led to the closure of some courts around the country. From Cape Coast to Koforidua and other cities, cases are being forwarded to Accra to be heard. The Ashanti region is one of those affected. Regional correspondent Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports some appeal courts have been closed down due to a lack of funds to run them. Up next, we bring you sport.
All right, so in sports, we talk about the World Cup, and there are a lot of surprises still getting in. England in real trouble. They're joining the bars home out of Brazil. Though, let's first of all give you what's happened in terms of the updates. England lost by 2-1 to Uruguay. Luis Suarez getting all the 2 goals for them. Everybody was talking about whether he was half fit or fully fit. I can promise you he looked goal fit. An excellent first goal. And then the equalizer came to Wayne Rooney, who only scored his first goal in World Cup history. Then there was a wonderful equalizer by Luis Suarez. He got that second goal for them to ensure they are into it. England have lost 2 games and are out of the World Cup. They joined Spain, Australia and Cameroon. At least we know that for sure. Well, I know Costa Rica haven't played yet, but the chances are very, 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 very slim for England now to see how they'll get into it now. Let's have a look at what happened this afternoon as well. There was a crucial game between Ivory Coast and Colombia. Ivory Coast lost again in this particular one. Remember, in the first game, they won against Japan. In this game, if they had won, they would have actually sealed qualification. They lost by 2-1.
Peru are seeking to come on breaks as they did against the Greeks, and they've done so effectively here. The ball into the area looks good. Oh, Gutierrez, what on earth? It's number 5 for them. It's great header! Colombia lead, and Brasilia erupts. See again, the ball broke very kindly, and Kalou almost caught the goalkeeper napping, I think. On a moment to lose the ball there. Seridia, this might well be it. Is this number 2 for Colombia? It surely is. And they're surely on their way with the next of the golden generation. Savinho. How Cote d'Ivoire needs something now. But certainly this World Cup is holding a few magical memories for African sides. It may do now. That's brilliant. It's a fantastic World Cup goal. Gervinho, arm of Ospina into Colombia's net. The last 10 minutes have been explosive. And Gervinho here scores a magnificent solo. And just like Rodriguez, he's in.
All right, so that's what happened. Still staying in this particular group, Japan and Greece will be playing tonight. Here's a preview to that.
Japan will be fighting to keep their hopes of progressing to the last 16 alive when they take to the field against Greece in Natal. The Japanese went down 2-1 to Cote d'Ivoire in their opening match, but are unlikely to make radical changes with central playmaker Kasuka Honda, the rock of the team.
My expectations regarding Honda is that I count on him. He's playing very well. He had a good match against Cote d'Ivoire. He is the cornerstone of this team, and obviously everyone hopes that the entire side can perform better than we did in the previous match.
Greece are in the same boat as Japan, having lost the opening match to Colombia. and defeat for either side will almost certainly mean they'll fail to advance to the knockout stage.
The team understands what they did, that they must not do again, and they have prepared well in the past few days for the upcoming match. About the pressure is normal. I've coached at this level for 30 years, and I've never not felt this pressure.
Let's talk about our group, definitely, and we talk about Portugal. There have been concerns about Cristiano Ronaldo and whether he's match fit for the next game against the USA. That will be very crucial, keeping in mind what has gone on before for them after they lost by 4-0 to Germany. Ronaldo, though, looks fit.
Once again, Cristiano Ronaldo was the star of the show as Portugal held a second public training session at their home base city in Campinas on Wednesday. The Real Madrid star trained lightly and without the strapping on his injured left knee that he's been treating for a bout of tendinitis. While the Portugal camp continues to maintain that their superstar forward is fit, the Spanish newspaper El Confidencial has quoted the doctor of Ronaldo's agent Jorge Mendes, saying his career could be in jeopardy if he continues playing on the injured knee. The Portuguese, who were crushed 4-0 by Germany in their opening Group G match, face a must-win confrontation next with the United States on June the 22nd in Manaus, with their chances of reaching the knockout phase at Brazil 2014 on the line. At the end of the training session, Ronaldo limped out of the stadium with an ice pack on his injured knee.
Sports tonight has not been a good day for England. Well, I hope that Ghana doesn't go out like this as well. Good night.
Ask anyone in the music industry how the Ghanaian music industry is faring, and the answer will be it is growing or it is getting there. So will the Ghanaian music industry ever grow?
It appears the music industry here in Ghana will take a long time to grow, if you ask me. This is because whenever you ask mostly industry players what they make of the industry, you get same answers.
About the Ghanaian music industry, I think I mostly tell people that we have great potential, but we have to work hard to let that potential manifest. No pun intended. So that's where it is. We can't pat ourselves on the back like, yo, we are amazing. We say, oh, we have great promise.
Over the years, it's going to grow, and I'm hoping that.
I caught up with one up-and-coming musician who gave his name as Ayite. When I asked him how he saw the Ghana music industry, his response wasn't any different.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's doing well. For now, I can see, the music industry is growing right now,